Okay, good morning, everyone, and welcome, and thank you for coming to our first of many webinars on the Antero maintenance software. Um, we wanted to keep doing these, so look forward in the future for more of these webinars coming out covering various topics on our Antero software. If any of you are also users of our Operator 10 software. We did one of those so far, and just like this, there'll be many of those to come. So the topic of our first Antero webinar is mastering work order management. The idea behind this one is to get you more familiar with the work order management section of Antero, and I guess the best way to utilize it to make it really work well for you about how to manage your work orders, whatever that means to you. So I will say now, before we get started, make sure you all stick around towards the end. We do have a couple announcements. We do have an Antero update coming out soon, and we also have a new customer support portal for any of our users in support. So exciting stuff. And we'll talk about that more after this. So just make sure you stick around. Okay, so we're going to get started here in a bit. I'll introduce myself. My name is Jared Heitz. I've been with AllMax Software for some time now, 10 plus years. I may even have spoken to some of you. I used to work in our technical support department. I now manage that department as well as our IT department. Myself and other members of our staff were very involved with the design of this version of Antero. So myself, I am very familiar with it. I know why it is how it is, and yeah, have a very good understanding of how it works and why it works. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay. So work management in Antero. Start off, it's accessed from the main menu in the app. You can access it from up here for under current work, or in this home view in the work management work orders section here. Doesn't matter which one you use, opens up into the same thing both places. So the design of work management is really here to give you sort of an overall kind of a bird's eye view of the current work orders in the system. We really designed it as just this is your place to go to manage the work, and manage can mean many things. Kind of the way I'm going to describe it in this webinar is going to be more for the user that's in like the management type role, where they're going in, they're seeing what new work orders have come up, you taking those, assigning them to users, and just keeping track of kind of what's going on with the work orders in the system. We used to, in prior versions of the app, we sort of wrapped everything, including like management, actually doing the work orders and all that, into one place. And when you try to do too much in one place, you don't really give a good experience to one type of user or the other, since you're trying to do too much. So this section is really designed with the user that's managing the work orders in mind. So the idea is, if you're managing work orders, this is your starting point. You'll come in here and you'll see kind of what's going on with your work orders. In my example here, I'm using our work status, which is a new field, which I'm going to go into that when we get kind of there in a little bit here. But I can see, in this very simple setup here, that I have, 3 work orders on hold, 3 of them that are active, and then 1 new. So ideally, you come in here, whether it's daily, weekly, whatever, it's your choice. You'll see kind of give you an idea of what's going on. So you'll see ideally new work orders, every time you come in here, and then it's on you to decide, how to react to those work orders. I also want to say that we did set this up in such a way that these statuses dictate who sees which work orders. Because right now, for instance, the hold and active ones, those are available for the people doing the work orders. They can see those in their other My Work sections as we have them labeled up here. But this new one, because of a certain thing we have checked on that, or I should actually say not checked, those users will not see that yet. So you can have all kinds of work orders in here. You could have work orders that are for future dates. They'll be in the section. You can see them, as the person managing them, give you an idea of the work coming up. But they won't be available to those users who are doing the work until you make that decision to change those to a status, which will allow them to see it. So let's jump into statuses then. So statuses is an important piece of this. This is kind of what makes the work order management section work. Without statuses, anybody could really maybe not necessarily get to this section to see them, but they might be able to see them in their My Work sections. So ideally, what you would do to start out is kind of think about how you want your work orders to flow through the statuses. So I'll go ahead and show you up here on the File menu, and then I'm going to go to Setup Tools, Work List Setup, change my drop down to Work Type. Oh, I'm sorry, that is not right. Work Status, there we go. And as an example, and this is sort of just really just what I set up in this database, and this is completely up to you how you want to use these statuses. But in my setup, I have 4 statuses set up. I have active, distributed, hold, and new. Each one of these statuses, which you can have any number of, and you can be set with a collar. And the collar, as you saw in the work management section, is just a quick, easy visual indication. I don't have to dig around trying to find, okay, I got to read everything. I see collars and I know what those mean. They mean something to me. I see the blue ones in here, like the light blue. It says, oh, okay, I have that many new ones. It's just a real quick visual indication of the status of the work order. An important piece here is the show as available checkbox here. So what that does is that's how you control who in your organization can see the work orders. If your users do not have access to the work management section, they will never see work orders that do not have this option checked. Best way to put it. That's basically you saying these aren't ready for anybody to do yet. I need to look at them, determine who needs to do them, things like that. So my example, they all are available to users except for the new status. So what's also important here is setting which one of these statuses are applied to a work order when a work order is created. So I'm going to back up one step here, go up to Database Admin, Database Options, and then this option here, this Default Work Order Status. So as you can see, trip the drop down, those are all my statuses I have defined. And in my particular case here, I'm using the default work order status of new. Any work orders that are created, whether that's from the templates, meaning ones you have set up with a schedule, or ones you even create manually, it doesn't matter. They're going to come in with this status of new. So because I set that status as being, I guess, not as not available, work orders will be created. They'll land in the work management section, and nobody's going to see them if they don't have access to work management. That's up to you as the person managing these work orders to change the status. If you see a lot of new ones come in there, you look at them, everything's good. You can then assign those to users, change the status over to something like active, and once that happens, users will then see those come up in their My Work sections. Also, while we're here, we have the create through days options. So this is another thing that's important and plays into this. So kind of to just step back a bit, we used to have a work order forecast kind of section or tool in the app, which would allow you input a date. And what the app would do with that date is then show you which work orders would come up to be created. If everything is the same as it is right now, these are the work orders that would be created, based on this current schedules and things like that. So this is sort of an idea we took to, I'd say, kind of replace that in a way where I can change this create through days, which it does default to 7, and we can update it to go up to 365. So let's say I do something like 14 days. Save that. So now the Antero service, which is this, it's just basically a background process that checks this work order schedules and creates work orders. It's going to look 14 days in the future and say, can I create any work orders? And it's going to keep doing that, keep doing that, keep doing that, So the idea is with those create through days, you'll come in the morning or whenever, and oh, there's new work orders because the Antero created them for me. And then you can act upon them. So they'll come in my case here, since I have my default status set as new, they come in as new work orders, and then I can react to them and do things with them. So I'm going to back up here, go back to this section. So ideally, I actually don't have that process running on my machine just because I wanted to show some other things in this database. But it kind of ideally, the way we think about it is we do have this option up here to create scheduled work orders. This essentially does the same thing that background service would do. So I'm going to go ahead and have that happen. So it's actually, by clicking this button, it's going to actually create one work order through that scheduled date. And actually the date's a little off here. I did create one in the older. This database, I was working on this database to try to get it in where I wanted it to, and I didn't quite get it there. But once I clicked that button, a work order came in here with the new status. So the idea is once work orders, the app creates the work orders, they come in here, and how you react to them is you can do this many ways. So this new one here, I can click on the work order number, which will open up the work order viewer. I can then change the status. So something like maybe active. And then if I want to assign it to a user or maintenance group, which I should mention that maintenance groups are also a new feature in this version of Antero. And maintenance group is simply a grouping of users. So the idea is if I don't really have a specific person that has to do this work order, I can assign it to a maintenance group. And in my example here, I just created a couple maintenance groups, something like general maybe, and maybe all your maintenance, technicians would be in the general group. Maybe you have specific people that just work on like vehicles. So that's my idea with this mechanics maintenance group. And maintenance groups, and I can show you the setup of that, but it's really simple. You create a maintenance group, you assign users to that maintenance group, and then they'll see any work orders that are assigned to their groups. They show up, even though the work order is not assigned specifically to them, it'll show up in their My Work section. So something like this is a monthly lift station inspection. We can just put that to general because there's any number of users may be able to do that. So since I did this, I set it to active to the maintenance group general. So that's already been set. I didn't have to save it or anything. Close that. Now that's sitting here as active. Now users can go to their My Work section. And because that one wasn't actually assigned to me, I actually went to this all work option, which this is optional. You can set it so your users can only view work orders assigned to them, which would be this option without my maintenance groups checked. And as you can see here, this is actually a good example. I have this work order number 1616 assigned to myself. I can click, oh, I also want to see my maintenance groups. I didn't actually have any that are assigned to maintenance groups I'm part of. Or as a security option, you can set your users to be able to see all work orders. And now this does require that work order to be of a status which we set as available. And you'll probably notice I don't see any work statuses here that are of the new status. If I go back to work management, there's this new one here. So that one's not actually being displayed to me because it is not of that available status type. So to set up your maintenance groups and add users to them, that's done up here under Setup Tools, Maintenance Group List. So for instance, I'm going to add myself to the general maintenance group. So click Add, click myself, click Save. So now I am part of the general maintenance group. And actually, I think if I go back to my work and then I select this option, my maintenance groups, I should see when it gets its refresh done, or actually I'll go ahead and just open the section again. There we go. So now I see a lot more things here because I'm looking at my maintenance groups as well. As you can see, just my work, just me. Once I say, oh yeah, I also want to see my maintenance groups, there we go. There's all the ones assigned to the general maintenance group that I can now see in here. Okay, so what I showed you there was how to assign a work order just in an individual basis. Let's say you have, actually let me do something real quick, see if I can get some more work orders in here. I want to change my create through days. Let's go up, let's say 60. And I want to do my create scheduled, which uses that 60 days to look out in the future. And it's going to create 2 more work orders. Okay. So I received 2 new work orders in my list now. And let's say I'll take these 3 that are currently new. And I know who I want to assign them to a user, or I want to distribute them. Maybe I want to print them, maybe I want to email them. So what you can do here, and the way this section works, is you use these check boxes to the left side, check all the things. Go up here to distribution, and anything I do here is then going to apply to the 3 items that I just selected. So let's say I want to assign these to Brian. And then because they're new, I need to set them to something. I need to set them to a status that is one of the available statuses. So, all right, so let's say they're now active. If I wanted to, I could then send those to a printer at this exact same time. If I wanted to as well, I could also send those to an email, which the way that this really works well with the email is if you have an email address assigned to that user, which that's done in user security where those users exist. Otherwise, you can just, what this is going to do is it's going to open up your default email client on your PC, and it's going to have the work orders attached to them. It's going to go ahead and fill in this username. It's actually going to put that email address in your from, but you can type more email addresses in there if you don't have the email, set up here in the app, and it works just well. It's kind of a shortcut, so you don't have to type everybody's email in. We'll just let you select them here, and then click distribute. I'm going to uncheck this because I don't want my email client popping up over everything here, or I don't want to print anything out as well. So with this here, I'm going to assign these work orders to Ryan, set the status to active, click distribute, and there we go. Now those 3 that are still checked are set to active, assigned to Ryan. So now when Ryan comes in, he can open up his My Work section, and in his, he should see those work orders in here. And now you can see that I don't see those work orders that I just created, because they were not assigned to a maintenance group I'm part of or myself as a user. If I could see them if I went to all work, but yeah, there they are. Well, at least some of them. Yeah, there's 3 up here. You can also, if you need to, in this section, if you have a piece of information you want to change on multiple work orders. So I did show you the distribute there, which is really geared towards, assignment and printing, emailing, stuff like that, changing status. We do also have the ability to edit multiple work orders. So let's say I need to change a piece, maybe like the priority of a work order. I need to change on many of them because I'm looking at them here. They've been like, here's a good example. There's some of them that are sitting here. They're kind of old, date scheduled. It's like, somebody needs to do something with these, in these cases, these are on hold for whatever reason. Maybe they're waiting on, maybe we're out of a part or something like that. Hold can mean whatever it needs to mean for you. And I recommend creating as many statuses as makes sense for your organization. This is a very sort of generic setup, but you could have many versions of hold, for example. Maybe hold, hold dash waiting on parts, or hold really any reason. I could come up with them probably a ton of different things. But we just keep it real simple here with just the hold. So for instance, I can select multiple work orders. I can click my edit button up here. And some of the same options that we saw on the distribute form, along with other things too. So I say, okay, these are actually more, I want to set these all to high priority. And I want to say I want these done within 7 days. And I think that's good. We'll leave it at that. Save that. We have high priority on everything scheduled, which you can see with sort of the green background here. Days to complete. There we go. All set now at 7. Yeah, and just an easy way to change multiple work orders. We also have in that edit form, if there's information to come in here like date completed and things like that, because it's we know certain users' workflow is, somebody comes in here, fills out this type of information. So this gives you all the things you need to make it so you can send that work order to either review or history. So you can also do like, okay, I know all these were completed on this day, so that maybe if like the person doing the work order didn't fill those out, we can select that. We can select who completed it, save that, and just additional piece of information you can set in this section. Should also mention these icons over here, which actually is just a quick visual, the exclamation point. is to show you that, oh, this work order is delinquent. Delinquent means it has passed the number of days that somebody set, to complete the work order. So all these are set to 7 days. So 7 days past date scheduled. So any of these, I want this work order to show as delinquent. Again, it's similar to status in that we kind of envision this as just a quick visual indication of, somebody said this work order should take this many days to complete, or we want to see it done, in this many days, and that hasn't happened. So these things could be ones that you make like high priority, like somebody needs to do something about this, because we made a decision to say it's this many days to complete it. I did want to come up, I kind of skipped over and I didn't necessarily mean to, but up here in database admin, something else you can set for your work orders, something that you want to happen, is this option down here. It's on the same place we came and set our default status, our create through days, things like that. You can also require a work order to have completed notes on it. So the one requirement that a work order has to have, and this is going to go for all of them to complete them, is a date completed. We have to have that date, that lets Antero know when the next work order in that series, specifically for your scheduled ones, without that, it doesn't know when to create the next one. So we have to have that. In the case of a work order that you scheduled it by an instrument, you also need to enter an instrument reading on that one as well, just so it knows how to reset it and how to start counting up to the next one. And then now, as in a new feature, you can also require work order completed notes. So now that I've checked that, go back, I can go to any one of these work orders. There we go. And you do see, now prior to this, this would not have been bolded here, it would not have said required, but you can require anybody doing work to actually enter something in here. It just doesn't matter what it is, it needs something in here. So they fill out their date completed, just say today, and then also completed notes. Whether it's as simple as, work was completed without issue, for example, which is probably what happens. Enter that. Now this all kind of depends on permissions, but anybody in the organization, as long as they fill out the completed information, they can move work orders to review. Yep, to wish to continue, yes I do. And that's worked. Then it has been moved to review. As an option, you can allow any user to move work orders directly to history. So the idea with review is we want to have somebody give a work order a second look before we actually say it's done, it's put into the history section, and it's done. We're done with it. If you don't need anybody to review it, then you can always give them permission to just move work orders directly to history. So my user, I have permission to everything. So as you can see, I have the move to history option enabled here. And then as soon as I fill out my data, same thing, completed notes, work it's done, I can also then just move to history. Done. So those two options, they just put the work order to a different sort of step, which is not a required step. Like I said, review, it's an optional thing if you need that. But the end goal of all these work orders is to get them into the work order history, to get them done, get them out of the way. It's just review as an optional extra step if you'd like to go there for somebody to give it another look. And the work review section is designed and geared towards making it easy for those users just to get a quick review. They can see all the information on the work order and then make a determination. Does it need it? Can I move it to history, or do I need more information from the user who did the work? Another new feature in work orders is the needs attention. So I can open up another one of these and then check this box and say, caps lock is on. So let's say, I don't know, for this pump, I noticed a leak. And I did that as the person I did the work. I say, okay, I did the work, finished it today, completed notes, finished work. And then I can say, do something like, I don't have to move it to review or do any of that now. Let's just say I'm going to leave it in open. So now we have this little caution flag here, which shows the person managing the work order. So they're in here in their work management section and they see a work order in here with this little caution flag on it. It's like, oh, okay, what's going on here? You can click that and attention description, this is what the person doing the work order, they enter these notes into the needs attention field. They check the box, enter the notes, and they said, oh, notice a leak. So to me, I mean, as the person managing the work orders, that means, oh, okay, I probably should maybe create another work order for somebody to go out and, inspect this this pump, submersible pump here. So just a nice feature then to just really just call attention to things on it in the app. Otherwise, maybe they might put that kind of data in like completed notes or something like that, but then how do I know as the person like managing that anything needs to happen? So that feels specifically for, really just any attention that needs to basically telling the person managing like somebody needs to go take care of this or look at this or react to it. So that's the idea behind that needs attention setting there. I do want to mention it is kind of what we can do, and this is going to be sort of this will be app wide about things we can do, how you can organize different sections of the app. Work management specifically, you can benefit from using the grouping mechanism, which is available anywhere in the app. Anywhere you see a grid like this, you can do this. I think work management's a pretty good example of that because generally work orders can be grouped by any number of things that make sense to you. For instance, work status, is a good one I've been talking about a lot this whole time. Any grid in the app has this bar here that just says drag a column header here to group by that column. So for instance, if I were to drag status up here, what that does is changes my view pretty drastically. And it just groups everything into these categories, whatever I've put up there. So, I can see the colors in the grid if I do not use grouping, or if I turn on grouping for this field in particular, then it just groups by the unique values. So in my current grid, I only have active and hold work orders. If I had also new work orders in here, let me do that real quick. I'm going to create a manual work order, which with my setting my default status to new, it's going to come in as new. So I'm going to pick a pickup truck, and let's say we want to do a tire rotation. Schedule for today, days to complete. We want that done within 2 weeks. Create. Once you create, it does open it up into work order viewer. You don't have to do anything with it right now though. Close that out. Oh, now we get another category here. We get our work status new. So any of these is you really just, it's more like it's kind of like a focus mechanism, Okay, I don't really care about these right now. Let me just see the new ones. Okay, expand that. I can see new ones. All right, so I want to see hold. Okay, here's just my on hold ones. It's just a really nice way to group your stuff together. And then it's easy to turn off the grouping. You just kind of grab it. There's multiple ways to do this. This is the way I like to do it. You just then drop it back down here into the grid. Another thing I would say a way to maybe group your things is using this work priority. So this grouping is anything with a work priority that is blank. or okay, yeah, I want to see okay, these are high priority, these are medium priority, really into these fields. It's up to you how you want to use it. Just a couple suggestions that, make sense to me. Again, this is going to be app wide, but I always like to mention that we do have a search here, and this search will search everything you see here. So, these are the columns I'm looking at, which I should mention, again, another thing that's app wide. This is not set in stone, the number of the columns you're looking at here. Please make it what makes sense to you. That's important. Don't take what we give you as a default for how it should be, because this is very customizable for you. You can right click on then any one of these columns, do show column chooser. So as you can see, this is the same columns vertical as you see going across here. So yeah, I'm looking at equipment task, date schedule, work status, maintenance group, assign user, type, priority, etc. As you look down, there are a ton of different options here. Whatever data makes sense to you. Maybe the location of the equipment makes sense. I can pop that in there. You can see it just went over here to my right-hand side. So, okay, now these are in the garage. These are in the administration building. Estimated hours. This one, I have a couple of them that have estimated hours here. Half an hour for each one of these. So it really just gives you, as the person managing this section, just a really be able to see your data that makes sense to you and how you want to use the app. You can also drag and drop these inside of here to change the order. So if I like equipment, I'll drop after task and you can just see it move immediately. It's a weird visual bug there. Just close that and come back. Now, the way you set this up, and you actually just saw it happen to me, you do need to save this to say like, yes, I want this to be, permanent, and this is how I want it to show every time I come into the section. So once you get your view the way you want it, and that includes grouping, the order of the columns, I think even the sort order, which is like I'm sorted by date scheduled now, going from the earliest to the newest. And as of this update we're releasing, we're also including my filter. So if I was filtering by one of these columns, for instance, I'll click the filter button. I say, yeah, I just want to see active here. With our next update, when I would say, yes, I want to make this my view I always see when I open the app, that piece of data is also going to save. That's in our upcoming update. But with all this, I can go up here. I select save as my layout. Now you can see as I close the section, come back to work management. Now it didn't do my active filter because like I said, that'll be in our next update, but anything I do here and change, that it will be saved if I use the save as my layout. And then you can revert back to your layout anytime with this use my view option. Let's see, really one of the last, I'll go through a couple more things here. I do want to say in certain places in the app, including work management, we do have this filter up in the top right, which is a date-based filter. So if you only care about seeing certain things, like I just want to focus on this week, you can click this week. It's all driven by date scheduled. So you'll see anything scheduled for this week or, this month, see more things scheduled. If I want to look into the future, what's going on next week? Well, nothing in this case. Yeah, nothing for next month. And you also have a custom option, which will allow you to enter a start and end date. Go back to my all. Do a refresh, and there's my all. So real quick, I do want to kind of go over work review, touch on that just for a second. I do consider that part of the managing work orders. Managing, I don't think is just, only this section of the app. So if you remember correctly, I did move a work order to review, and I'll at least see that one here when I open the work review section, which I do. So I mentioned when I said moving it to review, and that's the idea. This section is designed to be easily readable and kind of give the person doing the review just like everything they need to do to review the work order. So as I come in here, I really see everything. I don't have to click on different tabs to see labor, parts, suppliers, etc. Um, I see all this up here: completed notes, need attention, instrument readings, all my data. And as the reviewer of the work order, my job then is to come in here and I can go over everything. Yep, looks good. I can click move to history. If I do need to, do something with this work order, oh, okay, I can actually click on the work order over here in the left-hand side. If I need to change any of the data on here, I have the ability to do that because we haven't moved it to history yet. So I can do any of that. If there's just somebody entered a piece of data wrong, they entered an instrument reading that's just way out of range, and it's like, they just put an extra zero on the end. Let me fix that. You do have the ability to do that. But ideally, everything's good. Come in, click move to history. Oh, there we go. Interesting. This one does actually is missing required piece of data. So I can actually come in here, enter my reading. Should be good now. Yep, it's happy. Move it to history. Work's done. And then work history, it's really just like the name implies. It is just all the work orders that have been completed. Normally, not a place you'd go to do anything really, just kind of let you know anything that's in there. Okay, so I mean that is managing work orders really. I mean there's of course sort of just touched on it. I just wanted to let everybody know all the tools, let you know all the tools that are available, and kind of the why, of why we did certain things, and why things changed, from previous versions. So I hope I did. I hope I explained all that in a way that made sense. So um, I do want to now talk about kind of briefly our we have an Antero update coming out. So next Tuesday we are releasing an update for Antero, and that update I'm going to highlight, sort of some of the bug fixes and really like quality of life features we're introducing, and some new stuff too. We noticed at some point, like if you're familiar enough and you've used, computers, I guess, which of course you all have, F5 is in general your refresh button most anywhere. I noticed that we weren't doing that everywhere in the app, so that's been updated. Anywhere if you like need to see new data, just press your F5 key. It's going to refresh, and you'll see new stuff in there. We also increased the size of the work order viewer window. It can kind of get a little crunched in here. So we made this window a little larger. So before you'd always have to come in here and, all right, let me make it larger. Now it's just going to default to be a bit wider. Just make it easier to see things. I mentioned the Say My Layout is going to now include your filters on any one of your columns, and that was a customer request. We did a couple enhancements or additions to the work order report. We know a lot of you print your work orders out. You're still printing them out, taking out to your users. So in prior versions, you did see, if you had an instrument, you did see the last reading, so that somebody did on a work order. You were also able to see as an option, which is still, and we included as an option again, to see the completed notes from that last work order. So those two, look for those on the work order report when you print those out. Those will be available. We also added the work order request. You can access it from the Antero app. So those of you not familiar with work order request, its intent in the past has been for a user without the Antero application like they don't need it, for any reason. You wouldn't install it on their machine, but you do want them to be able to request work orders. But we got to thinking about it, and it's like, well, it doesn't make sense just for only people who without Antero to use that, and anybody with Antero. I mean, it's likely they want to use it too, because you probably don't have all your users, set up to be able to create work orders. But if they do go out and they see something, they want to make a request, so those who do have the ability to create work orders can then review those requests and then create a work order. So in this next update, we will have a button to launch the work order request right from the main app. Otherwise, you had to actually install the work order request on your machine when you already had Antero, just sort of unnecessary steps. And probably I really don't remember seeing everybody do that. So look for that in this next update as well. We did a couple just sort of quality of life things like I mentioned. One of a good example is this little filter button here. It's very small and hard to click. We've increased the size of that. Made some improvements to when you change the storage path with, you probably know, you haven't even touched that, but just some better error handling. We just fixed various typos in the app. Okay, so lastly, for me, my part in this, I wanted to talk about the customer portal on our website. So what this customer portal is what it's going to allow you to do is, as of right now, we're very early in it. We just got it. We actually have it on there already, and I'll tell you kind of where that's at and what it means. But what it's going to do is, it's going to let you see the main thing right now. What it's going to give you the ability to do is see your tickets with AllMax tech support. Traditionally you wouldn't have any idea of the status. So, I'm having this problem. I called into support. We worked on it. Maybe we kind of hit a roadblock. We're not sure what's going on. And I don't know what's going on as I don't know what the status of this thing is. So with this new customer support portal, any support tickets with either your organization or you specifically as a user, you'll be able to see those in there. And there's actually a nice feature in there where you can converse with the support rep who's working on it. They can go in, they can see comments. And if let's say I'm working on it, I can say something maybe. You go in there, you'll see a new message. You can read it, you can reply, do things like that. It's just a really nice feature. Moving forward, we are totally revamping our knowledge base. We're going to include that there. It's going to have all the knowledge base articles telling you how to do certain things in Antero or even Operator 10. So we're updating all of our articles right now, and those will be available there. To get there, it is on our website, allmaxsoftware.com. If you go up to the top left, you'll see a Get Support button. We added a new thing there where you can access the portal from there. And it does require registration. So, just so you know, so you don't just so you know what to expect when you land there. You'll click that, you'll go in, you'll enter your information. Once that's in there, you can then start, you can even submit support tickets from there. If you don't want to use it, that's fine. We don't require it. On that same page, that if you go to Get Support, you'll see where we have that same form you're probably used to seeing there, where you fill out your name, email, what's the issue you're having, and that creates a ticket in our system, and one of our support reps will still get a hold of you. Support portal, ideally, it's there to give you a better experience. Because then you'll have that ability to see your tickets and the ability to do a back and forth with your support rep. Okay, so I am going to turn over to Daryl Dorman, our sales manager. He has a couple announcements he wants to make. So let me that back up and turn it over to Daryl.
Thanks, Jared. Great job. And thanks everyone for coming today. This is our second month in a row doing this, and we're looking forward to doing more based on some different feedback that we get from you all. and just providing more of a service for you. So a few quick announcements. We are going to be going back to some different trade shows. So we're going to be at the ACE Anaheim show in June. For people in Ohio, at the end of April 16th, BJ Yoder is going to be at the Ohio Agribusiness Association meeting. I'm located in Oregon, and I'm also going to be at the WEF Short School at Clackamas County College, end of June. We've got the One Water Ohio conference in August, and then we are going to be back at WEF Tech again. So if you're attending any of those, we'd love for you to come by and say hello, and just get to meet us and talk more about how we can improve your overall experience. So the other thing is that we do have different training options, kind of on a customized aspect. So depending on the program that you have, we have a couple different things you can do. We have just online training, which we can customize to what you want us to cover for you. We have on-site training, and as the slide shows here, we are looking at different states of being approved to offer contact hours. So we have several other states that we're looking at, and if you are interested in on-site training and also getting contact hours for that, let us know, and we can see what requirements we might need to get that approved for you. And then we have the H2Go and Antero Worksite, which are kind of different modules, based on specific aspects of the program. So if you're saying, hey, we have some new people here, we're really struggling with these specific aspects of the program, we likely have a curriculum already designed for that piece of the program, and we'd love to have you go through it and learn how to use it better. So thank you very much. Again, we are going to be sending out a follow-up email with some survey questions and also a discount for some online training. So if you have any feedback or future things that you want us to cover, please fill that out in the survey and let us know what you think.
Yep, just like Daryl said, thanks for attending. Looking forward to doing more of these, and just getting everybody just using the app. Tips and tricks how to use the app, any announcements like that. But yeah, looking forward to seeing you all in future ones.